What's up, guys? Coming to you today with Week 9 college football action on a packed Saturday of NCAA football here on October 25th. We're going to cover a bunch of the biggest games of the day. I'll give you my massive lock of the day and my favorite underdog pick of the day. So slam that like button and subscribe to the channel to make sure you keep seeing these videos every single day. Let us know what you think in the comments. I personally read and answer every comment I get. Check the pinned comment throughout the day to see our favorite picks. And you should definitely check back a couple of times throughout the day to see if there are any changes with injury news coming out and personnel changes coming in at the last second. Last week, guys, we had a very nice Saturday out there. Went 5-1. We had Vanderbilt at -2.5, a nice 34-24 win there for Vanderbilt over a big-time opponent there in LSU. Pavia was solid in the win through the air, but went nuts on the ground game. 86 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns on only 17 carries. So a great win there for the Commodores. We had James Madison -2.5. That was a blowout win there for the Dukes, putting up a 63-27 win there, with the passing and running game both absolutely popping off, and even their defense coming up big. An insanely dominant second half with James Madison outscoring Old Dominion 35-0 in the last 2 quarters. Our only loss today was Texas A&M -7.5, an insane back and forth game where the Aggies eventually get the 45-42 win, but couldn't cover for us. Their defense really had a pretty rocky day out there. We had Notre Dame -9.5. That one wasn't looking good early, but in the second half, the Fighting Irish put up a hell of a fight defensively, giving up 0 points in the fourth quarter, and the running game of Jeremiah Love was insane, putting up 228 yards and a touchdown on only 24 carries. So a very nice win there on Notre Dame. We also cashed both our dog of the day and our lock of the day. We had Washington State +17.5. Honestly, crazy that Washington State didn't win that game straight up, but they did eventually lose 20-22. So we get the super comfortable cover from the Cougars, who looked great in this game against the spread once again. And we had Troy at -5.5 as our massive lock of the day. A very easy win on our lock of the day, with Troy coming out on top 37-14 and taking control in the first quarter, being up 10-0. The running game, passing game, and defense were all online there for the Trojans last week. So very good stuff there. A 5-1 day overall. We will definitely take that every day of the week. Now, guys, let's go ahead and dive into this week. A very exciting week 9 out there. Crazy that we're already 9 weeks into the college football schedule. And first up here, right out of the gate, we've got a big time game. We're looking at number 4 Alabama, the Crimson Tide, going on the road to take on the South Carolina Gamecocks. Alabama has quickly rounded into form here this season. Obviously, losing their season opener there at Florida State 31-17 wasn't a great look, but they've just been ripping off win after win since then, taking down Georgia, taking down Vanderbilt, taking down Missouri, and taking down Tennessee. They're playing some of the best ball in the SEC and in the country, obviously, and yeah, they deserve that number 4 ranking they've got. They've just been running roughshod over everyone recently in that win over Tennessee. I mean, a 37-20 win over Tennessee looks pretty freaking good. Ty Simpson, a very good day, mistake-free, no interceptions. The running game was working, maybe not destroying, but definitely working. Ty Simpson, I guess he did have one mistake. He fumbled the ball away once, but that was no problem. A dominant day from the Crimson Tide defense, giving up only 20 points, generating a turnover of their own. A very good day out there for Alabama. South Carolina, they're only 3-4 on the season. They won their first 2 games, taking down Virginia Tech and SC State, but it's been rough since then. They did get a win over Kentucky, but they lost in a blowout to Vanderbilt. They lost a close one there at Missouri. They lost at LSU 20-10, and then last week against number 14 Oklahoma, they lost 26-7. So not a great day when you only put up 7 points. The quarterback situation there for South Carolina does not really get me going too much. The running game also not that impressive, and the defense, while it has been good at times, didn't have a good time last week against Oklahoma, so we'll see what they're able to come up with in this one in a very tough matchup there against Alabama. Looking at the numbers here, guys, South Carolina, they're getting 11.5 points at home. We've got a total of 47.5 in this game. Alabama is 5-1-1 against the spread this year. South Carolina is 3-4 against the spread. Guys, we're going to be taking Alabama here at -11.5. They've been one of the top performing teams in the country since their week 1 loss at Florida State, as the Tide have won 6 straight and stand 4-0 in the SEC, with wins coming against very tough opponents like we were just talking about. It's crazy that Alabama has been a consistent performer for a month straight, winning 4 in a row against highly rated competitors. The one worry for us here is Alabama perhaps thinking they can take a breather here against a lower tier SEC opponent, but we don't have a ton of confidence in South Carolina. They're 127th in the nation in total offense. That is not going to be enough to keep them up with Alabama or to really help them get anything going against a very solid Alabama defense. Next on the docket, guys, we've got a bit of a deep cut. We're going to be looking at Appalachian State going on the road to take on Old Dominion. Now, Now, the Appalachian State Mountaineers are 4-3 on the season. They're coming off a tough 45-37 loss there against Coastal Carolina. In their step-up games this year, they haven't exactly had a great time losing against Boise State, and they really haven't played the toughest schedule. But last week against Coastal Carolina, despite the fact that they lost this game, they did do some pretty positive stuff. The quarterback play of Cole looked very good, 278 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air, 0 interceptions. The running game did not have quite the same level of success, only 132 yards on the ground despite 35 rushing attempts. So definitely something to be worked on there. They did fumble the ball away once, and that wasn't great, and the defense really struggled last week. So maybe they're in for a bit of a bounce back, but Coastal Carolina, they're going to be able to run the ball against pretty much anybody in the country, and that's what they did against Appalachian State. So we'll see if the Mountaineers can have a little bit of a bounce back as they go on the road to take on Old Dominion. Now, the Monarchs are 4-3 on the season. They just lost last week in that blowout there against James Madison. We were on James Madison, so thank you, Old Dominion, for being terrible in that game. Their wins this year are against Coastal Carolina, Liberty, Virginia Tech, which is a pretty big one, and then NC Central. They lost against Indiana in a pretty competitive game, but their last couple really haven't made us feel good. That blowout against James Madison and that blowout loss there at Marshall. They are back home for this game, so maybe that will help. We'll see. Against James Madison, it was really that second half where they just looked terrible, couldn't get anything going in the right direction. The passing game looked okay, but too many mistakes. 2 interceptions there were killers, and the running game looked terrible. They turned the ball over a total of 3 times in this game, so not exactly a great showing. Now, the defense obviously got obliterated there by James Madison, so another not quite great look there. I'm sure you guys just saw the corgi busting in through the door there. But yeah, not a great day there for Old Dominion on defense against James Madison, getting obliterated by the run and the pass. Not a very good look. So we'll see what they can do at home in this one. They are 14-point favorites in this game. We've got a total of 61.5 out there. Appalachian State, they're 3-4 against the spread. Old Dominion's 4-3 against the spread, and we're going to be backing the underdog in this one. Give me Appalachian State getting 14 points. If you can find 14.5, great. Right now, it has moved at half a point. We're not getting the hook anymore, but we're a little surprised seeing Old Dominion giving this many points against a respectable opponent, given the Monarchs are coming off back-to-back blowout losses against Marshall and James Madison, where Old Dominion surrendered 48 and 63 points in the respective defeats. Also, in looking at the numbers, Appalachian State's defense ranks better than Old Dominion, while their offenses aren't that far apart either. Take Appalachian State with the over 2 touchdowns on the road in what looks like a very good value spot. Next up, guys, another one of the biggest games of this very exciting weekend of college football. We've got the Syracuse Orange going on the road to take on Georgia Tech, number 7 Georgia Tech. Now, Syracuse not having a great time over their last 3 games, losing 38-3 against Duke, a 31-18 against SMU, and then last week 30-13 against Pitt. Things have not been headed in the right direction recently for the Orange. They've had a bit of a rough way to go. We'll see if they've got a bounce back in them here, but against Pitt, not a lot going right. The quarterback situation does not look great. Collins getting picked off 3 times. The running game didn't get too much going either, and yeah, it was just a rough day. Pitt still looking pretty good. They did win that one 30-13. The quarterback situation isn't great, but they can definitely run the ball, and that defense is top tier. So a rough day there for Syracuse. And it does get a lot easier here. They're going on the road to take on the number 7 team in the nation, so you could say it's getting a whole lot worse. Georgia Tech, they're 7-0 on the season. Their last time out, a 27-18 win over Duke. This team hasn't been severely tested. I would say the best team they've played is Clemson, back when Clemson was ranked 12th in the nation, and they have not exactly looked amazing. But when you win every single game, even when you're in the ACC, you're doing something right. So Georgia Tech playing great in that win over Duke last week. Not a lot of negatives, honestly. The pass game looked good. The running game looked dominant. They turned the ball over 0 times, which is a huge deal. They did look a little bit vulnerable to the pass, I will say, but they shut down the run completely, and they generated a turnover, so a very good day out there for the Yellow Jackets. So looking at the numbers here, guys, Georgia Tech at home, 16.5-point favorites. We've got a total of 52.5. Syracuse, 3-3-1 against the spread. Georgia Tech, 5-2 against the spread. We're going to be taking the favorite at home in this one, guys. Give me Georgia Tech minus 16.5. Syracuse simply hasn't been on the same level without their starting quarterback, Angeli, who's been out with an Achilles injury. Syracuse, unsurprisingly, is trending in the wrong direction, losing 3 straight in the ACC by double digits. We don't see Syracuse finding much defensive success in this matchup. They are 115th in the nation in defense. Should have a pretty hard time getting off the field. Georgia Tech quietly stands undefeated, and the Yellow Jackets have been even better at home than on the road. So we'll definitely be on Georgia Tech in this one. Hey guys, hopping into the quick shout out to the sponsor today and every day's video, and that is stumpthespread.com. Click the link in the description to go over there and see the top confidence picks from our entire team of experienced cappers. Right now, our premium members are getting daily NBA, NHL, UFC, NFL, and college football picks. We had an extremely profitable weekend last week on the football side, both college and professional, so that was a great look. NHL has cooled off a little bit recently, but is still way in the black for this season, so things are looking very good over there for the premium members. At stumpthespread.com, you'll be able to see exclusive free picks that are only posted there, so you definitely want to get over there and check out those. They're completely free. Also, that's where you'll find our free-to-use bet size calculator to keep you guys from busting your entire bankroll on 1 or 2 bad days. Definitely both worth checking out, but maybe even better than those, you got to get over there to stumpthespread.com and get in that free email newsletter, guys. It's a fantastic resource. All you got to do is click the link in the description or type stumpthespread.com into your browser of choice. That'll take you to the site. Click that little green button on the top right. It's going to say log in. You click on that. You set up a free account. All they're going to ask you for is your name and your email address. That is it. And you'll get one email straight to your inbox every single day. It'll have at least one, oftentimes 2 or 3 free picks, NHL picks, NBA picks, NFL picks, all kinds of good stuff like that. Any of the major sports could be those free picks, and there'll also be information on some niche sports as well if you're trying to bet something a little bit off the beaten path, like NASCAR, tennis, WNBA was a big one there for a while. Obviously, that season is over, but all kinds of great information in those emails. Parlays are included in those emails as well. There's also, all that information on niche sports that you would never even think of. Like, I would have never, before being exposed to this, have thought about NASCAR being something to keep track of, but it certainly is. So definitely get in on that if you're interested, guys. You also got to get over there and check out those premium picks. Last week, our results were pretty solid there on college football. Some bad beats, some very bad beats mixed in. UCLA ending up being a push instead of a win. That was pretty unlucky. Texas State, that was a tough one, but we cashed Kentucky plus 12.5 as a 2-unit play. Georgia Tech plus 1.5 as a 2-unit play. Houston plus 1.5 as a 2-unit play. Like, this could have actually very easily been a 6-0 day and ended up being three wins, 2 losses, and 1 push. But guys, it could have definitely been a heck of a day. Our guys getting dialed in. This could be that undefeated week. We'll see if it happens. That's what we shoot for every single week. So we'll see if it can happen in this one. So definitely get over there to stumpthespread.com. Check out the college stuff, but check out everything. Check out the free stuff. Definitely worth a visit. Also, if you're a huge fan of what you're seeing from us here every single day, click that little join button right below the video to sign up for a YouTube channel membership. YouTube channel members get early access to all of our videos, get their name up on screen in every single video, but maybe most importantly, get access to our members only giveaways. We give away a Stump the Spread hoodie here every single week. We'll be doing our next giveaway here on the 27th. So coming up pretty quick. We did our last giveaway on the 20th, next one on the 27th. All you got to do is be a YouTube channel member by the 27th, and you'll be in on that giveaway. We'll spin the big wheel live in the video, and if you lands on you, you get a Stump the Spread hoodie mailed straight to your address. So get in on that if you're interested, guys. We got to dive back, and we have a ton of games to cover on a very busy Saturday. And next up, we're going to be looking at a rivalry game between the Kansas State Wildcats and the Kansas Jayhawks. Kansas State comes into this game 3-4 on the season. They're fresh off a big 41-28 beat down there of TCU. In the last 3 weeks, things have been looking really good. Maybe even the last 5 weeks. I don't know. This team's been playing a lot better than their 3-4 record would indicate. A 1-point loss against Baylor after, before that beat down they just gave TCU. They beat UCF. They played a very close 1-score game against Arizona. Like, they've been playing well. In that win over TCU, everything worked out. The passing game looked nuts. Avery Johnson, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, almost 200 yards. The running game looked amazing as well. And the defense kind of showed up. They gave up 28 points but had a couple interceptions and generated a fumble recovery. They were good against the run as well, so a very good day out there for the Kansas State Wildcats. Now, the Jayhawks, the Kansas Jayhawks, they've had a little bit of a rougher time, losing 2 out of their last 3. They also beat UCF, winning 27-20, but last week they got obliterated there at Texas Tech, losing that game 42-17. It was not a great look. Overall, I mean, I guess Jalen Daniels played okay, 2 touchdowns, 255 yards, but didn't find enough success to get his team over the top. The running game was basically non-existent. Well, I guess I take that back. That negative 40-yard run skews those numbers, but still not necessarily an amazing day for them running the ball. And the defense got shredded. They had no answers there for the running game. Cameron Dickey just ran all over them. So a rough day out there for the Jayhawks. And despite that, they're still favorites in this game. They're 3.5-point favorites. We got a total of 56. Kansas State 3-4 against the spread. Kansas 3-4 against the spread themselves. We're going to be on the underdogs in this one, guys. Give me Kansas State getting 3.5. There's no denying it's been a disappointing season thus far for the previously ranked K-State Wildcats, but Kansas State has been playing better as of late, beating TCU by double digits in their last outing and competing well on the road in close defeats against Arizona and Baylor. We didn't like what we saw from Kansas in their last outing. They did get blown out. I mean, Texas Tech is a good team, but losing 17-42 isn't exactly like you put up a ton of a fight, and they gave up they were outgained by nearly 200 yards in that one. Kansas also fell in their last outing at home to Cincinnati, and we'd expect a similarly close result here from the Jayhawks in this one against their rival in a game that could go either way. We'll definitely take the points. Next up, guys, we're looking at one of the first games of the entire day of college football here on Saturday. We've got the UCLA Bruins heading to Indiana to take on the number 2 Hoosiers. Now, UCLA 3-4 on the season. They have won their last 3 in a row, beating Penn State in what looked like a super crazy blowout. Still kind of a crazy it's upset, but still kind of a crazy upset. Then they beat Michigan State comfortably, and then last week a 20-17 win against a tough Maryland team. So we'll see if they can keep it rolling here. Obviously, going up against one of the best teams in the nation. In that win over Maryland, we did not like what we saw in terms of quarterback play from UCLA, getting picked off twice. The running game, though, looked great. They did fumble the ball away once, though, so 3 total turnovers and only generated 2 of their own. Still come away with a 3-point win, thanks in large part to the defense bending but not breaking. So it wasn't necessarily an incredible win there for UCLA, but they do get the job done. Things are about to get a lot different now, though. They're going to play in one of the most hostile environments in college football against one of the best teams in college football. Indiana, they're 7-0 on the season. They've taken down Oregon. They've taken down Illinois this season. And last week, a 38-13 win over Michigan State. That was pretty much a domination. Fernando Mendoza, 4 touchdown passes, 332 yards, completed 24 of 28 passes. Just dominant stuff. Indiana was also able to comfortably run the ball in this matchup. It was just a dominant performance. They turned the ball over 0 times, forced 0 turnovers of their own, but only allowed 13 points and only allowed, just not very much offense, really. A very good day there from Indiana. So coming into this one, we're not shocked to see them big favorites. They're 25.5 point favorites. We've got a total of 53.5 in this game. UCLA, 3-4 against the spread. Indiana, 4-3 against the spread. I'm going to take Indiana here at home, minus 25.5. UCLA has been a fun story over the past few weeks, winning 3 in a row in the Big Ten after firing their head coach. Their recent resurgence almost ran out of gas last week, though, at home, but the Bruins did find a way to grab the win over Maryland late by a final of 20-17. If UCLA had a similar type of performance offensively this week on the road against one of the best teams in the country, it's going to get ugly. Perhaps, fortunately for Indiana, UCLA's recent success will have the Hoosiers more focused and ready to perform against an opponent that's no longer a laughingstock. I like Indiana to put together another elite performance at home as they go on to cover this spread. Heading to the SEC for this one, we're looking at the Auburn Tigers going on the road to take on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Now, Auburn at 3-4 on the season have to be a little bit disappointed. That being said, their 4 losses have come at number 11 Oklahoma, at number 9 Texas A&M, at home against number 10 Georgia, and then at home against number 16 Missouri. So you're in the SEC. This is kind of what your life is. We'll see if they can bounce back here with a win at Arkansas. Now, Auburn has looked like a pretty good team against a tough Mizzou team that they eventually lost to in double overtime. We liked what we saw from Jackson Arnold somewhat, although getting that one interception was pretty bad. Jeremiah Cobb had a great day on the ground. Auburn, definitely a team that can play some defense and run the ball, and that is going to be enough to keep you in a lot of games. We'll see if that's enough here in this one. They did have 2 interceptions, gave up 0 passing touchdowns last week, and only gave up 91 rushing yards on 44 carries. So, yeah, a very, very tough look for that defense to come out on the losing end of that game. That was pretty brutal. So, we'll see if they can have a better result here at Arkansas. The Razorbacks are only 2-5 on the season. Their 5 losses have come at number 17 Ole Miss, at Memphis by 1 point against Notre Dame, and a blowout loss, a 3-point loss at Tennessee, and then a 3-point loss last week at home against Texas A&M. So they did play well in that Texas A&M game, but are they going to be happy coming off that loss? Moral victories aren't worth too much. In general, the passing game looked great. Taylor Green, amazing out there. The running game also worked against Texas A&M, but they're about to face a much tougher defense in this one. So we'll see if they've got something to say defensively themselves. Their defense was terrible last week. Looking at the numbers, they're 2.5 point favorites at home in this game. We've got a total of 55.5. Auburn's 2-4-1 against the spread this season. Arkansas 3-4 against the spread. We'll be taking Auburn getting those 2.5 points in this one. As disappointing as Auburn has been, standing 0-4 in SEC play, the Tigers have shown very high highs this season at times against a very tough schedule, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. Somehow Auburn let another great opportunity slip through their fingers last week at home, losing to Missouri in double overtime after looking like they were in control there in the fourth quarter. It's pretty remarkable to us that Auburn has limited these offenses like Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Georgia, and Missouri, to some of their worst performances of the season. Defense tends to travel well. We like that to be the difference maker here for the Tigers in this one against an Arkansas squad that perhaps burned through their effort last week in a come-from-behind attempt there against Texas A&M. Next up, guys, we're looking at the number 23 Illinois Fighting Illini going on the road to take on the Washington Huskies. Now, Illinois 5-2 on the season, still in the top 25 after that 34-16 loss there against Ohio State. Losing to the best team in the nation, not exactly a terrible look. Illinois had a pretty good season with wins over USC. Tough loss there against Indiana, obviously, where they didn't really keep up. But this team has looked interesting in that loss against the Buckeyes. You kind of went the way you'd think it went. Altmaier tried to do it all and couldn't quite make that happen. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and the running game couldn't really get going there against the Buckeyes. Defensively, it wasn't a great day, obviously giving up 34 points. They didn't generate any turnovers and couldn't stop the run, but slowed it down. Couldn't stop the pass, but slowed it down. So not a bad day overall for Illinois. They're going to go on the road in this one to take on the Huskies. Washington 5-2 on the season after a 24-7 beatdown loss there at Michigan last week. So not a great look. Their only 2 losses this season are at Michigan and against Ohio State. So they've had a pretty good year overall. Against Michigan, though, it definitely looked like they were not up to the task. I mean, they couldn't stop the pass. They couldn't stop the run. We saw Williams throw 3 interceptions himself. Like, that was pretty brutal. And the running game didn't get going. Like, not a lot of positives across the board for Washington last week. So we'll see if they can bounce back, although this could be a little bit of a tough spot to try and bounce back. They are 4-point favorites at home here against Illinois. We've got a total of 54.5. Illinois 5-2 against the spread this year. Washington 3-4 against the spread. We'll definitely take Illinois here getting 4 points. Washington simply hasn't been performing as well as we've been expecting here in their tougher Big Ten matchups. They've looked awful on offense in these blowout losses against Ohio State and Michigan. Although Washington has a strong home field advantage, we're a little skeptical here of the Huskies given their recent results. Illinois has shown they can perform on the road, very, very evident there in their blowout wins at Duke and at Purdue. We expect this to be a very close game, and we'll take the veteran Illini in this tough environment, getting the points in a result that I think could go either way. Next up, guys, we're looking at the NC State Wolfpack going on the road to take on the Pittsburgh Panthers. Now, NC State's 4-3. That puts them 10th in the ACC. Their last game was a 36-7 obliteration at Notre Dame. That one did not go well. They've had some tough losses this year, losing at Duke and a kind of not a blowout, but not a great game, and losing against Virginia Tech. We'll see if they got a bounce back in them here after getting just slaughtered by the Fighting Irish. They didn't get a whole lot going through the air. I mean, CJ Bailey threw the ball to the other team 3 times. That's not exactly what you're looking for. The running game wasn't amazing either. A pretty brutal day there on offense. Defensively, holding Notre Dame to 36 points is not a horrible performance. They also generated 2 turnovers, so not that bad. They didn't stop the run, which, I mean, that would really be something else, but yeah, you can only ask for so much in a matchup that's as lopsided as that one. So we'll see what they can do here. Going on the road again, this time to take on the Pittsburgh Panthers. Pitt is 5-2 on the season. They've won their last 3 in a row after a couple tough 1-score losses at West Virginia and then against Louisville. They've beaten Boston College, went to Florida State and got the 34-31 win, and then last week at Syracuse, a 30-13 win. They're back home for this one. I'm sure they feel great about how they're playing right now. In general, last week, we didn't love what we saw from Mason Heischel, but yeah, 1 interception, no touchdowns, only 140 yards to the air, but the running game was definitely working, and the defense was working overtime. The defense generated 3 interceptions, only gave up 13 points, shut down the run, really made the passing game look awful. Ricky Collins completed less than half his passes. Like a monster day there for the Pitt defense. So looking at the numbers for this one, I'm not shocked to see them favored here. They're 6.5-point favorites at home. We've got a total of 54.5. NC State is 3-4 against the spread. Pitt's 5-2 against the spread, and that's part of why we'll be taking the Pitt Panthers here at -6.5. Like getting a red-hot team at home, giving under a touchdown against an opponent that's been trending in the wrong direction. Pittsburgh has been one of the better performing teams in the ACC over the past month as the Panthers have found success under the new starting quarterback. Pittsburgh's ascending offense has been a great addition to what has been one of the better defenses in the ACC. They're 20th in the nation yards allowed. I'll definitely be more than happy to ride the hot hand in this one and take the Pitt Panthers. Rolling right along here, guys, we've got the Toledo Rockets going on this road to take on the Washington State Cougars. Now, Toledo's 4-3 on the season. They are coming off a 45-10 blowout win there against Kent State. They haven't really played the toughest schedule, obviously, out there in the MAC. You know, it hasn't been that brutal. They've been alternating wins and losses for a while. I mean, losing at Western Michigan isn't exactly a great look. And last week, that game against Kent State, sure, you blew out Kent State and everything looked great. But yeah, that was not really much of a test there. I mean, the Golden Flashes are only 2-5 on the season. So they played well, both sides of the ball. That's all great. We'll see what they can do here against a much more real opponent who's coming off a pretty tough loss there in a game they definitely could have won at Virginia. They eventually lose 22-10, back-to-back one-score losses against ranked opponents, both on the road, and now they get to go back home. And we'll see what the Cougars can do here. They have wins this season against Idaho, San Diego State, and a blowout win there at Colorado State. They're playing amazing. They just didn't get the wins over the last 2 weeks. I mean, in that game against Virginia, they did a lot of good stuff, especially early on. We liked what we saw from quarter, like in terms of quarterback play early on. They did end up with 2 interceptions, though that wasn't great. The running game looked really, really good, though. That was a pretty potent rushing attack there, and defensively they looked fantastic as well. Slowing down the rush, basically eliminating the passing game, only giving up 22 points. This Washington State Cougars team is looking pretty legit right now, and I'm a little bit shocked. I actually am a little bit shocked to see them still getting points here. I figured this would have flipped to them being an underdog, but it flipped the other way. They're getting 1.5 points here at home. We've got a total of 45.5 in this game. Toledo is 5-2 against the spread this season, but Washington State is 4-3 against the spread. They're playing great, and I will be taking the Cougars here at plus 1.5. Even though they were losers, it's hard to ignore what they did last week and in recent weeks, nearly upsetting top 25 opponents there in Ole Miss and Virginia, both those coming on the road. This is even more incredible given the back-to-back road nature of those games, along with the fact that Washington State had to travel all the way across the nation for them. Toledo is one of the better group of 5 teams, but the Rockets haven't been nearly as consistent as we'd like to see going against a manageable schedule, so I'm more than happy to be here on the Washington Cougars getting a 1.5 points at home. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the Baylor Bears heading to Cincinnati to take on the Bearcats. Now, Baylor, they've had a tough year. Started things off with a loss against Auburn, then won at then-ranked SMU. They had a blowout win over Stanford, lost to Arizona State, blew out Oklahoma State, barely beat Kansas State, and then last week went to TCU and lost 42-36. So they're 4-3 on the season. Obviously not a dream spot here for the Baylor Bears. Last week was not great. We saw Sawyer Robertson get picked off 3 times, also throw 2 touchdown passes. The running game was doing okay, but those turnovers can be awful big killers. They turned the ball over 4 total times and only forced 1 turnover of their own. That is not a winning recipe. Their defense looked terrible, had no answer for Josh Hoover, no answer for the running game there of Kavorian Barnes. Just a rough day out there, just across the board for the Baylor Bears, and they honestly kept this game closer than I feel like the stats would indicate they should have. So yeah, that was a little bit rough. And things aren't getting a whole lot easier. They've got to go on the road in this one to take on the number 21 Cincinnati Bearcats, who are now 6-1 on the season, winners of 6 in a row. They lost their season opener by 3 points there against Nebraska, and since then they've been undefeated, knocking off Bowling Green, Northwestern State, a big road win there at Kansas, a win over then number 14 Iowa State, a win against UCF, and then last week a 49-17 blowout at Oklahoma State. Obviously things looked very, very easy there for Cincinnati in that blowout win. Passing game looked amazing. Brennan Sorsby looked amazing. 4 touchdown passes, 284 yards, no interceptions. The running game was also fully online. Nothing was, not a whole lot of resistance coming out of the Oklahoma State Cowboys. They are clearly terrible. Defensively, they didn't give up 100. They only gave up 149 passing yards. Also had an interception there. They did struggle a little bit against the running attack, but they generated 2 turnovers. That definitely helped. We'll see if that all can translate here against obviously a better team than they faced last week, but still not an amazing opponent there from what we've seen from Baylor recently. So looking at the numbers here, guys, Cincinnati 3.5 point favorites at home. We've got a total of 67 in this game. Baylor 1-6 against the spread. Cincinnati 5-2 against the spread. And that's a big part of why we'll be backing Cincinnati here at minus 3.5. The one thing holding us back from being even more positive of Cincinnati is their defense, which is 86th in the nation yards allowed, but this still feels like a disrespectful spread for the Bearcats at home as currently one of the top teams in the Big 12. Cincinnati has a solid home field advantage, and we've seen that with recent Bearcat conference wins against Iowa State and UCF. Speaking of defenses, that have disappointed, Baylor is 104th in the nation yards allowed, and we see that being the difference maker in this one, as Cincinnati should put up enough points to easily win and cover. Next on the docket, we're looking at the Stanford Cardinals going on the road to take on the number 9 Miami Hurricanes. Stanford comes in this game 3-4 on the season, fresh off a crazy win last week, a 20-13 win over Florida State. They've not been an amazing team this year, but they really came out to play last week, and there's some positive things. Last week, Stanford did have an injury to their starting quarterback, but he is listed as probable for this game, so it seems like he'll be back, and hopefully he'll be a little bit better than only 90 passing yards like he had last week. But the running game for Stanford looks amazing. 118 yards on 28 carries there for Tab. Dominant stuff there. Overall, a mistake, close to mistake-free game. Only that one interception, no other turnovers, and the defense played amazing stuff there. They didn't generate any turnovers, but they kept the plays in front of them, limited the running game, limited the passing game, and you can't really ask too much more from a lower tier team there in the ACC. So this week going to be a much tougher test as they head to Miami to take on the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes, they are 5-1 on the season. They're coming off a 24-21 loss against Louisville. Their only loss of the season, and they really did not play well in that game. We'll see if they've got a bounce back for in them in this one. They've had a pretty good season overall, obviously. Carson Beck was terrible last week. That's the reason they lost this game. 4 interceptions, no touchdowns, 271 yards to the air. You can't throw the ball the other team 4 times. It's just not going to work. Now I think there's tons of controversy in Miami. That's just not a good look. Maybe it was just a bad game. Maybe you just forget about it, move on, and they'll be fine. I don't know. The running game didn't get going in their game against Louisville either, and defensively they gave up 24 points, generated only 1 turnover, gave up 248 rushing yards and 113 yards there to Isaac Brown on the ground. So a brutal day out there for the Hurricanes. Is this a bounce back, get right spot for them? Potentially. They are 29.5 point favorites in this game. We've got a total of 45.5. Stanford's 2-5 against the spread. Miami is 4-2 against the spread, but we're going to take all those points with the Stanford Cardinals, guys. Stanford's one of the more boring teams to watch in college football. They try to slow things down, limit the number of plays to increase their chances of hanging around. We saw Stanford succeed with this in their last outing there as they grabbed a huge upset win over Florida State. 20-13. Miami should be a bit down on themselves coming off a less than ideal home loss to Louisville in their last outing. Miami will win this game, for sure, but the better value is certainly Stanford getting the mountain of points in this game. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at a big rivalry game. We've got number 25 Michigan going on the road to take on Michigan State. Now, the Wolverines, number 25 Michigan Wolverines, they come into this game fresh off a desperately needed 24-7 bounce back win there over Washington after losing the week before that 31-13 at USC. That was a tough travel spot heading to USC, but they didn't handle it great. But they did handle Washington really well in that 24-7 win. We liked what we saw from Bryce Underwood. 2 touchdowns, 230 yards through the air, 21 of 27, so very efficient passing numbers. Nothing wrong with that. The running game was fully online. Jordan Marshall, 133 yards on the ground and a touchdown on 25 carries, and that was with his longest rush being 14 yards. He was just grinding out positive yardage every single time he touched the ball. So excellent news there for the Wolverines. Headed in the right direction for sure. And the defense looked great as well. They had 3 interceptions there. That was fantastic. Held Washington to only 209 passing yards. They also stopped the running game pretty much dead in its tracks, only giving up 50 rushing yards there to Jonah Coleman on 16 carries. So a very good day defensively for the Wolverines. Generating a total of 3 turnovers is not a bad day, especially when you give up 0 turnovers of your own. So a nice game there for Michigan. Over the course of the season, their defense is great. 17th in the nation, giving up 17 points per game. So a lot of positives for the Michigan Wolverines here as they head to Michigan State to take on the Spartans, who are 3-4 on the season. They have lost 4 in a row, so that's got to feel a little bit brutal, but most of those losses have been very competitive. Last week, they had a really tough time at Indiana, and the week before that, they had a bad time against UCLA, but a close game against Nebraska, a pretty competitive game there at USC. There are some positives to find here for Michigan State. Now, last week, they might have been few and far between. They were playing one of the best teams in the nation. The passing game actually looked okay. 243 yards to the air, 27 of 33, like 1 touchdown, no interceptions. A lot of positives there. The running game wasn't exactly the focus, but they were down so much they really had to throw the ball. But overall, not a bad day at all there for Michigan State offensively, despite going up against one of the toughest defenses in the nation. Now, defensively, Michigan State did have its problems in this game, but they didn't give up too much to the run, which is what I'm most worried about in this specific matchup. So we'll see how that shakes out, but I do expect a high effort, pretty decent game here from the Michigan State Spartans on both sides of the ball. And they're getting 14 points. They're getting 2 full touchdowns here playing at home in a rivalry game. We've got a total of 47. Both teams are 3-4 against the spread so far this season. Guys, we're going to take Michigan State. If you can find 14.5, great, get that hook. But we'll take Michigan State getting 2 touchdowns here. Generally, having a true freshman quarterback isn't a recipe for blowing out a heated rival on the road. We'll see if that's the case here for Michigan this week in East Lansing. As disappointing as the season has been for Michigan State, the Spartans are always ready to put forth their best effort of the season when trying to upset their in-state rival. Michigan looked bad in their last road game, losing at USC by a final of 13-31. Michigan State isn't USC, but we see the Spartans putting up enough roadblocks in this one to cover this large size spread. Last but not least, guys, we're going to be looking at number 17, the Tennessee Volunteers going on the road to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. Now, Tennessee, 5-2 on the season. They've been having a pretty good time, although they've come up just barely short against their top-tier opponents, and barely might be a little bit of a nice way to put it. They did lose 44-41 against number 6 Georgia earlier this season, but last week, a 37-20 loss at Alabama in a game where, I mean, the outcome wasn't really too much in doubt. Alabama jumped out to a pretty decent lead there by halftime, and it was clear that they were not going to be giving that one up. Now, Tennessee, we didn't hate what we saw from Joey Aguilar in that game. He was picked off once, that's not great, but one touchdown pass, 268 yards to the air. Could have been more efficient, only completed 28 of 44 passes, but overall, definitely not a terrible performance by him. Deshaun Bishop actually looked great in the running game, 14 carries, 123 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So big ups there to Tennessee in terms of the running game working against Alabama, but the defense, definitely a concern for this team. They gave up 2 touchdowns. They gave up 37 points overall. They gave up 2 passing touchdowns and 253 yards to the air. They also gave up 2 rushing touchdowns and 120 yards on 32 carries in the ground game. So not really ideal. They generated 1 turnover, so props on that, I suppose, but not exactly an amazing day there for the Volunteers on defense. Over the course of the season, they were 110th in the nation in points against. This defense is holding this team back. There's really no way around it, and it's looked even worse when they played against elite competition. So we'll see what they can do going on the road. I don't know if Kentucky counts as elite competition. We'll have to kind of wait and see on that. The Wildcats are only 2-4 on the season. That's not great. They are at home for this game, so that's a step in the right direction. They've played some really tough games, though. I mean, early on, they lost to Ole Miss 30-23. They lost to South Carolina, not nearly as comfortably. Went to Georgia and lost that one 35-14. But at home last week against number 21 Texas, they lost 16-13. So that makes 2 very tough games against ranked opponents that they have played at home. So seems like the home field advantage definitely online here for the Kentucky Wildcats in that loss against Texas last week. Liked a lot of what we saw. I mean, Cutter Boley, 1 interception but 258 yards and completed 31 of 39 passes. That's pretty good work there against a good Texas team. And yeah, I mean, they lost by 3 in overtime. Like, they were right there. They ended up running the ball for 137 yards and a rushing touchdown. Like, just a lot of positives. They did a great job taking care of the ball, only that 1 interception. And defensively, they looked great. Made Arch Manning continue to struggle. They only gave up 132 passing yards. Really shut down the Texas rushing attack as well. Like, not a lot of negatives to find here about this Kentucky team, especially on defense. They are 82nd in the nation in points against, but when they play at home, the defense just comes to play in a big way. They've given up 16, 23, 23, and 13 at home this season defensively. Like, those are crazy numbers, especially when you consider they played Ole Miss and Texas in that mix. So yeah, we'll see what they can do in this matchup. Looking at the numbers here, the Wildcats are getting 9 points at home. We've got a total of 54.5. Tennessee is 3-4 against the spread. Kentucky's 2-4 against the spread. Guys, I'll definitely take Kentucky here getting 9 points. This is potentially a good spot for Kentucky trying to grab a home win against an opponent that's headed into the second leg of a back-to-back road trip. Tennessee has to be kicking themselves with how they let things go on the road against Alabama last week, losing to the Tide in the end by a final of 20-37 in a game that should have been much closer. Kentucky has actually been playing decent ball at home, particularly on defense, and we saw it from the Wildcats last week as they nearly upset Texas. I see Kentucky's offense having more success this week against Tennessee's 96th ranked defense as the home team keeps things much close enough here to cover. I even think this could be like a really wild, shocking money line play here as a huge underdog on the Kentucky Wildcats. Guys, that's all the games we have here for today. Make sure you're hitting that like button for good luck on all of your bets. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. We've gotten lots of new subscribers here, so I really appreciate all the new people coming on board. I really appreciate everybody that's hitting that like button every single day. Really helps get these videos promoted out there. It's a big help to the channel. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. I do my absolute best to get back to every single comment I possibly can. Sometimes I can't get back to them before game time, but Like I said, guys, I do my best. I appreciate everybody watching these videos. Make sure you click the link in the description. Get over there to stumpthespread.com. Check out all the free stuff we offer over there. Free picks. There'll definitely be free college ones in there, free NFL ones coming up, free NBA, NHL, you name it. It's very, very likely to show up in that free picks tab from time to time. You also want to get on that free email list, guys. Guaranteed one email per day straight to your inbox. Free picks in there, all kinds of information on parlays, niche sports betting, all kinds of good stuff. Definitely want to get in on that, and definitely check out those red hot premium picks. Had a good week last week on NFL, a good week on college football. I'm expecting more of the same this week. So definitely get in on that, guys, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow where we'll cover the NFL, and you know where to find us every single day for more sports betting action.